Nadia Bilchik is a television news anchor, keynote speaker, author, trainer, and communications consultant.
19 number one best-selling.
You have been nominated and won so many awards throughout your careers.
She has a wealth of experience interviewing and consulting with well-renowned figures, celebrities, and corporations. Nadia speaks on how to get people to like you, trust you, and want to do business with you.
Over the last few weeks, the entire world has been monitoring the treatment of your grandfather, Nelson Mandela. And my job was to introduce it and provide.
With topics like leveraging the power of your personal presence, networking for success, and lighting the fire. Nadia Bilchik.
Well, a very good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. And thanks to all of you who patiently have waited. As you might have noticed, I was having some technical difficulties. And the joy about technical difficulties is we overcome them and we get back on track. So before I get to conversation starters that are effortless, let's talk about how if you are giving a presentation and there are any glitches or technical issues. So number one, I always say check your tech, which I did, but still things can happen. So if they happen, number one, just stay very calm, like I am now, and then be very transparent and tell people, oh, apologies, we were having some technical issues. I'm happy to say they're all sorted now. So if you're joining me right now, you're here to hear about conversation starters that are effortless. And this is one of my favorite topics. I talk about it in networking. I talk about it in executive presence, in leadership presence, because the ability to build connection is an essential part of building trust. And wherever you are or whatever you do, building trust is a critical element to being more productive, to doing more sales, to having better communication and relationships with every single person you interact with. So that's why the topic of conversation starters that are effortless is so critical. So, as years and years of practice as a journalist, I have a simple template, and that is everybody you meet has 3 phases of their lives. They will have a past, a present, and a future. So based on that, you can always have an entire conversation. But to get to the entire conversation, you have to be good at what some people call doorknobs or door openers or icebreakers, moments of connection where you initiate that conversation. Now, some people that I'm talking to today are very fast-paced, outspoken, can talk to anybody. Some of you tend to be a little more reserved and find it more challenging. And of course, there are those of you that are many shades in between. Wherever you are on the spectrum of comfort of starting a conversation, here are some simple things that you can do to make it effortless. So, number one, you can comment on something. So, yesterday I was taking a walk around Chastain Park in Atlanta, and I bumped into somebody and his friend had a dog. So the first thing I did was ask, what's your dog's name? How old is your dog? He told me, he smiled. Then I went on to ask, what gives you the luxury and a very nice way of being able to take a walk on a Friday morning? He told me he was semi-retired. I said, oh, semi-retired from what? And then he told me what he did. And then we got into a conversation around flexibility being a great, great, great thing to have, and how wonderful and fortunate you are if you have flexibility in your work. So we were discussing current things and having chit-chat. That was a great point to then go, have you always lived in Atlanta? Questions about past. Now, a question I like to ask people about current reality is, what's your biggest challenge right now? Now, that doesn't mean I go up to a complete stranger and go, hello, what's causing you the most pain? That question would come after you've started the conversation. What's the one thing in your life that's causing you the most stress? Then you could carry on having a conversation around, oh, So and so holidays coming up, any plans? But having a plethora, a whole series and variety of conversation starters, anything from commenting on, yes, you can comment on the weather, to did you grow up in weather like this? What do you prefer, being hot or cold? If you are standing with someone in a line waiting for a ticket or a cup of coffee, chances are they're on their phone. But if they're not, you can, for example, if they've got an interesting tattoo, say, that's a really beautiful or interesting tattoo. What's the story? And they're very likely to give you a story and it starts a connection. The key to conversation starters, whether you're talking about, have you always lived here? Is the line always so long? What do you think of? If you're standing in the line on Sunday night, I'm going to see a concert in Atlanta, which I'm going to see is Angelique Kidjo. Anybody coming? She's an incredible West African singer. She's actually born in Benin. Anyway, I'll be standing in a line. And how familiar are you with this music? Do you come to concerts here often? What's your favorite been? But the whole idea is that you have a series of easy conversation starters. Now, you may be listening to me going, what if the other person doesn't respond? Well, if the other person doesn't respond, the chances are, yes, they may not be interested, that's fine, or they simply don't know how to conduct a conversation. You don't need to punish yourself. If you are absolutely finding it uncomfortable, go back to your phone, move on. If you're at a cocktail party, say to the other person, I'm going to get a drink, and hope they don't come with you. So in essence, what I wanted to share with you today is the ability to start a conversation in person is critical, but you also need to be able to do it online, which is why I'm so excited about my new book, because Own Your Network was republished in 2018. The 2025 version is around expert networking and building high quality relationships in a rapidly changing world. So that's your ability also, don't forget, to start a conversation online. So let me give you an example of that. I was actually looking up somebody in Johannesburg whose last name was Zidel, Zidel. Well, I came across a young man who was living in Florida who interested me in terms of the kind of work he was doing. So I reached out to him on LinkedIn. I said to him, I came across your profile. Let's set up time. And we've already had a call, and that may lead to a collaboration. Somebody, Rail, if you're watching this, Bricker, saw me doing one of these presentations and reached out to me. And he was an old schoolmate. And he said, Nadia, let's connect. And we have, and we are chatting. So my advice, guidance to all of us is, as much as we need to be able to start conversations in person, we need to be able to do them online. And we need to be able, really the key is to be able to do them in an authentic way, which if it's a complete stranger, I came across your profile, I saw you did X, would you be interested in having an additional conversation? Some people may, some people may not. But famously said, if you don't ask, you don't get. If you ask, you may not always get what you want, but if you don't ask, you don't get. So please think about this weekend, tomorrow. You're at a fun run for your child's school. I know my kids are involved in a fun run for their child's school. Start a conversation with somebody, based on a plethora of things. I know your child's at the school. Where did you go to school? Are you happy with the school? Do you have other children? The idea is that you are starting something that's an opening that leads, if you follow up, to building a high quality connection. And I'll end today by reminding us all that real networking, long-term, mutually beneficial relationship building is based first on having a connection, then a conversation. And in that conversation, you want to project coming across as much as a go-giver, as a go-getter. And only after that do you get to what we all hope for, which is mutually reciprocal, mutually beneficial relationships. You probably have questions or advice or comments. Please reach out to me, Nadia@nadiavilcek.com, and really think about initiating conversations that have the potential to lead to high quality connections and high quality relationships.